Hello and good morning. We're in week 3, and those of you who are seniors, make sure your grades are right. Um, Again, please don't put me in a situation where you're not going to be graduating. There are a few seniors who have not been showing up, and their grades are not real good. So that is a concern. Parents, look for that. Let's take a look here. Right here, we're factoring out what's in common. Well, this one right here, we're going to factor it out. 2 is already a prime number, so it's m, and then 4 x's on that one. On this one, it's going to be 2 times 4, and then 2 times 2, and then m, and 1x. And so here we have a 2 in common, so we want to take a 2 out. Okay, and here we have 2 m's, so we want to take out 2 m's, and it looks like only 1x here, and so we're going to have 2m squared x. That's your greatest common factor. And what's left here looks like x to the third power, and the sign here is a minus, and what's left here is 2 times 2 is 4, and then we're done. Okay. Also, you were taught before the difference of 2 squares. Now, I didn't give you the answers on this, so if you get stuck, you will have to ask. This right here is 3x, because 3 times 3 is 9, and this is 1 times 1, so it's called the difference of 2 squares. So your answer is going to be a plus and a minus, and so it's going to be 3x plus 1 and 3x minus 1. And what happens is there's no middle term. So if you do the outer and the inner is a negative 3x, and the inner is a positive 3x, and that cancels out. So it's called the difference of 2 squares. This one right here, it looks like the same thing, but it's a plus. So it's not the difference, therefore it's prime. You can't factor it. Trick question. This one right here, you're going to first factor out what's in common. Now, I don't know if 6 goes into 96, so we'll just try that. It does. All right, so what we're going to do is take out a 6. That's 96, by the way. So we're going to take out a 6, and when you do, you're left with x squared plus 16b. And actually, I wanted this to be a squared, so change that up to a square. And actually, it wouldn't matter. I was trying to get the difference of 2 squares, okay? So on this one right here, we'll just leave it alone like it was and leave it like that. So all you could do is factor out a 6 on that one, okay? What I'm looking for is one on your worksheet today where it looks like the difference of 2 squares, like this one right here, number 20. Take a look at it. This one right here is a minus, but 54 is not perfect, but you can take out a 6. So if you take out a 6, you're going to have 9. 6 times 9 is 54, and then the 6 disappears out of this one. You're left with u squared. So what you have now is the difference of 2 squares. So 3 times 3, so that's going to be 3b here. It's going to be a plus and a minus, and u times u, and that's your answer, and that's called the difference of 2 squares. For every one of these problems, I want to see some work. Like if you take number 2, I want to see something squared minus something squared, so that should be 2n minus 7. So the answer is going to be 2n plus 7 and 2n minus 7. Because if I just give you the answers, some of you are just going to copy the answers like you did last time. So I didn't do it this time, and if you don't show me the work, you will not get credit. Let me make this real clear. No work, no credit. Okay? So make sure you show parentheses, something squared minus something squared, and then the difference of 2 squares. Okay? This one right here, just so you know, is going to be p squared minus 6 squared, and then your answer is going to be p plus 6 and p minus 6. And that's the way everyone should look. Here's your worksheet for today, but it should be on Canvas. Let's switch our attention now to geometry. Let's take a look here. What did you have to memorize for circles? You had to memorize opposite, opposite, square root. Euler's formula was Florida Virtual School Episode 2. And there's the formula right there. And then here you have 4 faces. You're looking for the vertices. You have 7 edges plus 2. You're going to solve this equation, so you're going to get 4 plus v is equal to 9. You're going to subtract 4 and get the vertices, the points, are equal to 5. And that's how you do it. Without the Florida Virtual School Episode 2 or the formula, you would not be able to do it. All right, let's go on. Let's talk about mental math. Mental math is just what it is in your head. Okay, I want you to really, 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 really pay attention to this. If you miss any of these, then you have some major things you need to work out as far as understanding this part of math. Okay, and it's real important you do. So look here. These 2 signs are the same. So you add the numbers and keep the sign. Okay, this one right here becomes a plus. The signs are opposite. You got more positives, 2. This is a plus right here when you don't see it, but you have more minuses. You have 2 minuses. This right here is plus and a minus. Positive times a negative is a negative. These 2 signs are the same. You get a -6. If you missed any of these, that is something you need to learn. And so what you're going to do is go online and look for signed numbers. You need to do that. Make a point. Write it down. Okay, the sooner you learn this, the better off you'll be. All right, let's go on here. On a new sheet of paper, try those 2. Okay, so this right here is a 2-step equation. You want to get rid of this first and this second. So you want to add 4 to both sides. Get 2x is equal to 20. Divide by 2 and get x equals 10. If you didn't get 10, then you did something wrong. You can check it. 2 times 10 is 20, and 20 minus 4 is 16. Okay, so check it in your head. This one right here is also a 2-step equation. You want to get rid of that -1. So you're going to add 1 to both sides. So you get x divided by 7 equals 5. Then you want to multiply by 7 and get x equals 35. If you didn't get either one of these, that means you can't solve a 2-step equation. Again, that's another red flag. You need to learn how to do that. Let's move on to today's work right here. All right, let's take a look. Today, we're doing something called completing the square. And this right here is a little harder. And so pay attention. Okay, so let's copy down number 1 together. So put 8x plus x squared minus 2y is equal to 64. Copy all of that down. Put a star by this and pay attention. Okay, here we go. First thing you're going to do is line up your x's. Okay, so here are my x's. You want to put the squared first. So put x squared plus, that's a plus, 8x, and then leave a space. And then here, you want to move this y squared to the other side. So that becomes a plus, it changes, minus 2y equals 64. Okay, now I should have left a space over here as well. Okay, so I have something x squared plus 8x, and then something, and then y squared minus 2y, and then something equals 64. Now here's how you complete the square. So write this down. Steps. Complete the square. It's not hard if you pay attention. You take half, step 1, half of the middle term, and then you square it, and then you add it to both sides. Those are the steps. Write it down and look at the steps. So, what is half of 8? Half of 8 is 4, and when you square it, you get 16. So you want to add 16 to both sides. Okay, let's try it again. What's half of 2? 1. What's 1 squared? 1. So you want to add 1 to both sides. Now watch what happens. This becomes something called a perfect square trinomial. And you should have learned that in algebra. So basically, it becomes something squared plus something squared is equal to all of this. Now this right here looks like 81. Write that down. Now, since both of these are pluses, you're going to put x plus 4. 4 times 4 is 16. You always use that number. A minus and a plus, you're going to use 2 minuses. So it's going to be a minus 1. And there it is. That is the equation of a circle. So you do the center and the radius. Remember opposite, opposite, and then the square root. So the opposite is going to be a negative 4 and a 1. The radius, the square root of 81, is 9. And then you can graph it, everything else. That's called completing the square. Okay? Let's try it again. We're going to work the same one. So cover up your work and put try number 2. Or second try would be better. Okay, so put 8x plus x squared minus 2y is equal to 64 minus y squared. Copy that down. We're going to do it again. All right, so what you're going to do is line up your x's. And then you're going to line up your y's, and you're going to set it equal to some numbers. Well, here are your x's, and you're going to put those first. But the square is bigger than a 1. So put x squared plus 8x plus something, leave a space. You're going to move the y squared over to this side. It's going to become a positive because the sign changes. Minus 2y plus some number is equal to 64. Copy that down. All right, so notice what we did. Step 1, we have our x's lined up. Step 2, we're going to take half of this. Half of that is 4. We're going to square it and get 16. So we're going to do plus 16 to both sides. Okay, let me underline that so you can see. I added 16 to both sides to keep it equal. Okay. This one, you're going to take half of 2 is 1 and square it and get plus 1. You're going to add 1 to both sides. This becomes a perfect square. So you're going to do something squared plus something squared is equal to 81. Okay? So it's going to be x plus 4 right here. 4 times 4 is 16. And this is going to be y minus 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And there it is. And that's what you're doing today. Okay, now I'm going to give you one more to try, completing the square. All right, so let's see here. Try this one. Copy that down. Okay, remember, you're going to put your x's here, your y's here, and then a number here. Okay, so here are my x's. Here's an x on this side, so I'm going to move it to that side. It becomes x squared. It changes from a minus to a plus when you cross the equal sign. Okay, so this becomes, this is a plus 8x, so put plus 8x plus some number. Over here you got your y squared, so put y squared plus 32y plus some number. Okay, now I have it set up. Now, let me think about this. We have a negative 263 on this side. Okay, so now we're set up. We're going to take half of 4, or half of 8 is 4. We're going to square it, so we're going to add 16 to both sides, plus 16. We're going to take half of 32, which is 16, and we're going to square that. Now, I don't know what 16 squared is. I think it's 256. So 16 squared is 256. So you're going to add 256 to both sides. Okay? This becomes a perfect square. So it's going to be something squared plus something squared is equal to this. Now, I don't know what that is. I think it's 1, but I'm not sure. So we're going to do 256 plus 16 and then minus 263. It actually is 9. So put a 9 right there. Okay? All right, now we're all set up. What times what is 16? 4. So put x plus 4. What times what is 256? 16. So put y plus 16. And that's it. That's the equation of a circle. All right, aside from completing the square, they want you to write a circle. So here's the center. Remember, the center was opposite, square root. So the circle is going to look like this. Okay? Now, it's radius squared here, so it's going to be the opposite. So it's going to be x plus 11. The opposite of that is going to be y plus 8. And then the radius is that, so you got to square it and get 16. Because the square root of 16 is equal to 4. So you got to think backwards on these. This one right here, you're going to translate it 4 to the left and 2 up. Well, let's think about that. What I would do here is I would get the center of the circle, and the center is going to be the opposite and the opposite. That's the center of the circle. Okay? So what you want to do is translate it to the left. So that's going to be a negative 4. And then you want to go up. So that's a positive 2. So now the center is going to be located at 12. And then here it's going to be 8. So the formula is going to be x minus 12 squared plus y minus 8 squared is equal to the radius squared. The radius is still going to be the same, but what you did was you slid it to the left, and that should work, okay? Because the opposite of that is 12, the opposite of that is 8. So you got to think backwards. Okay, now this one right here, the circles, you got to figure out where the center is. I think the center is here. And it looks like the center of this circle is going to be over 0, up 3. So that's the center of the circle. The radius, this is counting every 2 boxes as 1. So that's 1, 2, 3.5. So the radius is 3.5. So the circle is going to be something squared equals radius squared. So 3.5 squared, I don't know, is 12.25. So the center is going to be the opposite. So it's going to be x minus 0 and y minus 3. All right, a little bit harder, but that's what we're doing today. Today, again, you're doing worksheet. I want only the front side. Okay, the top part is completing the square. I want that done first. Okay, remember, you got to line up your x's and line up your y's. So you got to get your x's lined up and you got to get your y's lined up. Then you take half squared, half squared. You add it to both sides. It becomes the difference or a perfect square trinomial. There it is. There's today's work. Only the front. There it is. Yeah, it is a little harder. It's going to be a challenge. But I want you to dig in and try. Good luck, and I'll see you in class.